What do all 8 and 9 figure entrepreneurs all have in common? People like Sam Ovens, Alex Becker, Alex Hormozi, Iman Gaji, Cole Gordon, and there's so many others. There's dozens of others that don't have a personal brand and they're making like $20 million a year and nobody knows who they are. They have like an email autoresponder or an app that makes $20 million a year. What do these people all have in common? Because they're all the Kobe Bryant of their industry. Now, if you're familiar with basketball, perfect. I'm going to keep using this Kobe Bryant analogy because in basketball, there's the average shooting guard or the average player, and then there's Kobe Bryant. And even though they have similar levels of height, wingspan, athleticism, and even kind of similar play styles, the results are wildly different. If you're not familiar with basketball, then maybe pick a different, like obviously a different player who's elite, elite, elite in their category. Every single one of these people and every single 8 and 9 figure entrepreneur, they are truly elite in their category. So this video is not about them. This video is about you. It's about how you can become limitless. If you've ever seen the movie Limitless 2011, that's what this is about. How can you be, how can you perform like an 8 figure operator without yet being an 8 figure operator? What are the mindsets, the habits, the character traits to be able to get there in the first place? Because if you don't start right now, then it's never going to happen. You have to be able to start now. That way, eventually, you can eventually be there. So, you want to surround yourself with as many high level people as possible. But if you're not in a position where like you're just starting out or you're making 10, 20, 30K a month, obviously it's going to be very difficult, if not very, very hard, if not impossible to network and actually be peers with people who are making 7, 8, 9 figures. So instead, if you like consume the information of only 2 or 3 people that you really aspire to be like, I highly recommend it. So in this video, I'm going to cover actionable tips that you can walk away with. So by the time the video ends, you have like a little bit of notes at the very least, and you can actually implement it today and tomorrow. I don't want you to leave the video the same way you started. Every single one of these videos, even just one thing, should be able to have a 5% improvement, 3% improvement, 1% improvement, a never ending Kaizen to continuous never ending improvement on your entrepreneurship path journey. That way you keep evolving. So by the end of the video, you're going to have actionable things that you may have heard of, you may have not, but it gives you the opportunity to reassess and look at it from a different lens. What do these people all have in common? They're all hyper focused, hyper disciplined. And if you're not hyper focused, hyper disciplined, you're simply going to get beat by other entrepreneurs who are. And that's just the reality. That's the way of the world. They are also fully optimized and primed for success. Every single great entrepreneur, again, you should always dedicate some time in the day, maybe not every day, but every other day at the very least, spend at least 1 hour a day dedicated to learning, whether it's learning Facebook ads, learning sales, improving your current skill set. But another 1 hour of the day could be spent, or that same hour could be spent studying successful people, successful entrepreneurs, reading biographies of billionaires, even just Alex Hormozi. How does he conduct, and not just like the generic, how to make 10K a month videos. I'm talking about like their actual routine, their actual process on certain podcasts. So when you're at the gym and you're on the treadmill, instead of listening to music, you can listen to Alex Hormozi or, one of these great entrepreneurs you aspire to be like, to see how their routine, how they approach their routine. It doesn't mean this is so important. It doesn't mean that they're right about everything. Okay. It doesn't mean that they're gods and that you can't go against the grain and do something different than them. It doesn't mean you have to copy them every single thing of their routine. That would be a recipe for failure, but you can still learn from them, right? So their work is fully optimized. So that means they're not just waking up every day and just doing whatever they feel like it and just kind of going wherever the wind blows. Like if you ever seen Eman, Hormozi, Cole, Alex Becker, like these people have like everything is like super, super Kaizen optimized. It's optimized to a T. Their diet, their sleep, like they know exactly what times of the day work well for meetings, what times of the day they feel like really energized and in deep flow. The relaxation is very optimized because they've been doing this for years. And you want to be optimized. The first 1 to 2 years is going to be the most difficult. Once you kind of get, you have the momentum going. You were doing this for 5 years, and not just entrepreneurship, but like hyper optimization of truly operating at your best level, like peak performance wise. You start to really get into this rhythm, into this flow. Okay. Of course, they have really great business models and business routines, which is not something we talk about on this channel because there's endless business routines. You can make I know a guy who they make $3 million a month, and they have a warehouse for fish. Okay, warehouse for fish, $3 million a month. It's like these boring, unsexy business models that can make a killing, something that you've probably never even heard of. Like it's insane. So they are the equivalent of a Kobe Bryant in a world full of high school basketball players, and that's how you have to look at it. Because you can either be inspired by your potential of what you could become, or you could be inspired by other people, and it just depends on what you're doing. Like in sports, Kobe, if you ever seen any of his documentaries, which is what I'm just talking about, of immersing yourself with these people and seeing how they think and thinking like they think. When he was 13, Kobe had a kill list. If you ever go to Value Tainment's channel, watch the interview he did on stage, he had a kill list when he was 13. So he got like revenge on, like, he made like a list of 100 players who were ranked better than him at the time, and one by one he wanted to like play with them or play against them and just destroy them. That is completely egotistical. That is not something that's going to serve the world in any way, but it worked for him and it worked for his mission and his purpose. Okay, so again, maybe that motivates you. Maybe seeing other people as someone to beat, maybe that motivates you. But it has to be people that you can actually compete with, right? You can't, like, if you're making 10K a month, you're not going to compete with any of the names on this list. It's just not exciting or motivating. But if you have other people who are making 10K a month, then you can think, okay, you know what? I want to surpass that person. That might be something that fuels you. Either way, you want to look at other entrepreneurs. Like here is the exact same analogy. Like other entrepreneurs, they're average entrepreneurs. You want to be the elite entrepreneur. So if they wake up at you know 9 a.m. and they have no routine and their diet is full of like Taco Bell and McDonald's, well, you're gonna wake up at 5:30. You're gonna have the perfect sleep, and then you're gonna have like this perfectly optimized routine because you are the best of the best of the best. You want to squeeze every inch of hyper optimization. Like Sam Ovens used to talk about like these crazy, and you can definitely push it too far. But from where you are right now, if you're not making at least 300K a month, you're probably on the side of not doing it enough, because you can't overdo it to the point where you kind of suck all the enjoyment out of life. There is a position where you can overdo it, but Sam Ovens used to like everything used to be hyper optimized, from his meals. He had a personal chef to a cleaner to an assistant to do all of his like chores. Even the Ethernet cable on his computer to optimize the Wi-Fi speed to the like nth degree. To have, because like if you open up a tab here on Google Chrome and it takes like half a second, compared to a tenth of a second, look how much that compounds over time. He used to optimize it so much so like he doesn't even get haircuts, because if you get a haircut, it's an hour of the day. You have to drive, the gym has to be in your house. So again, these are all really good things. These are all fantastic, but you can overdo it to some extent. But if you're watching this right now and you're not operating at 98%, that's probably not going to be a concern, right? Like for 99% of people, they need to drink more water and like be more hydrated. There is that like fraction of 1% that they drink too much water, but it's not most people, okay? So again, the average civilian, like if you just take an average person on the street, they have like no routine, right? If they don't have a business, they don't really have to have a routine, right? And I mean routine as far as like gym, good habits, stuff like that, right? They probably don't have too many great habits. They have a poor diet, poor sleep. If you ever look like an average person, their sleep is like horrendous. Their diet is like horrendous. Like the average American is, they need to fix these things, right? And then I think we are doing that little by little, but they spend no time in deep work, right? Even though they might work an 8 hour office job, they spend like 15 minutes in deep work total, right? And the entire day they're surrounded by distractions: Instagram, WhatsApp, Facebook, like all these social media sites. Now, the average entrepreneur is much better, clearly. They have some routine, and this might be you right now, but it's lackluster. The routine isn't optimized. They have some good habits, some great habits, but not as many as they should. And they also have bad habits on top of that. They have an average diet, so they try to eat a little healthier, but it's not too crazy. They're still full of inflammation. They're still full of brain fog, and they're not operating as efficiently as they could. They exercise, but it's not great if they're honest with themselves. And they spend very little time in deep work. And if you're like most entrepreneurs, a lot of the time spends out, like you spend most of your time putting out random fires, and you're working in your business, not on your business, right? Because you're surrounded all day by these distractions. And you have to work basically twice as hard to get something done. And that's extremely frustrating. If you compare that to an 8-figure entrepreneur or 9-figure entrepreneur, these people are extremely clear. They're extremely clear. They're extremely focused. They have an amazing routine. Okay. They feel this is also very important, and it's kind of hard to find is that they have a great sense of purpose in their life. They're very happy. They have a great sense of purpose because it's hard to do this if you don't love it. Kobe, MJ, they loved basketball. They loved what they did. Leonardo DiCaprio, Brad Pitt, they love acting. Like they enjoy it. They're enamored by it. So if you don't love your business or at least love like what you're building, then it's going to be very difficult to go to the top 1%. But they have amazing sleep, diet, exercise. They spent the majority of their day moving the needle forward. And you have to ask yourself, are you moving the needle forward in your company? And is that how a $1 million a month entrepreneur would be operating? Yes, there's busy work you might have to do for now, but you want to make sure that you're in deep work and you're pushing the needle forward. They spent a lot of time learning. Like even people who are making 8 figures, they're still learning on how to take it to the next level, whether it's an IPO or something or whatever is the next stage in their business. They're always learning about the next level, finances, how to improve every single department. They're always constantly learning from people above them. They are the Kobe Bryant of entrepreneurs. So right now, are you the average NBA player? Are you an all-star? Or are you the cream of the crop? And I really want you to understand, if you're into football or soccer or basketball, there's thousands of players that have played the game in at the professional levels. How many of them are really all stars? Like in the NBA, there's what I think 430 players, something like that. I don't know, around 400 players ish, whatever. How many of them are really all stars? Maybe like 15 or 20. Let's call it 20. 20 of them are all stars out of 400. How many of them are like Hall of Fame players? Maybe like 10, right? 8 to 10 at any given time. And how many of those are like the best of the best of the best of the best? Very few, maybe one or two. Okay, that's who you have to become in the entrepreneurship world. Look how many players play soccer or football. Millions of players. How many of them are in the highest leagues? Thousands. But how many of them are actually like some of the greatest in the game? Very, very few. That's who you have to become. And that's a lot easier said than that's why on this channel we advertise the idea of having an accountability coach. That's why having an accountability coach, someone that actually like checks in on you on your progress, is so invaluable, because if you're able to be 10%, 20%, 30% more effective, not to mention sometimes it might be 2 to 3x, but that's a different story depending on where you're at, that is worth the investment like 10 times over. If you're able to invest in a high quality accountability coach and you're actually able to squeeze more out of yourself, and then therefore squeeze more out of every individual employee that you have. And as a company, think bigger, feel better, have more energy, and be able to dominate more. So Alex Becker, when he was building Hyros, he was famous for he would wake up at like at 3:30 in the morning, make a green juice, exercise, and then plunge himself into like 5 hours of deep work. And by the time it was 9 a.m., not only had he moved the needle tremendously, by the time it was 9 a.m., he had like he went to bed like at 7:30 or something, 8 or 8 o'clock, got tremendous amounts of sleep, woke up at 3:30, got like 5 hours of uninterrupted deep work done before his staff ever came online. And then obviously, did meetings with his team and just did more of the social aspects of leadership of running a virtual company. And after that, at like 2 or 3 o'clock, he'd wrap up the workday. He would get like 1 hour, 1 hour, 1 hour and a half of like of studying CEO interviews of because he read like 200 books. So after you read a certain amount of books, then you have to find other methods of improving and learning CEO interviews, things like that. And then he would exercise, and then he would go to sleep like at 7:30 ish, and then obviously he would have some time off in the afternoon and the evening, but then he would do it all over again. That is an amazing routine. And of course, not everybody can wake up that early. It has to work with your biology, with your chronotype, etc. But he was an early bird, and that's what worked out for him. So you have to find what works for you. Are you more of the early morning person, wake up at 3:30 in the morning, wake up at 4, work about 5? Or are you kind of better a little bit in the afternoon? You want to try to get as much done as you can before noon. So here are some easy steps to get started, because you might be thinking, Marcos, this is fantastic, but if I'm a regular shooting guard right now in the NBA, how do I become an all-star? How do I become a Hall of Famer? How do I do that? You want to first focus on the most important aspect, which is you. Yes, you can improve your ads, you can improve your copy, that's fantastic, but you need to improve yourself, because if you don't improve you, the man or the woman operating the entire machine, then it's going to crumble and it's not going to reach the levels that it can reach. Okay. If you take like Mark Cuban or the guy from Shark Tank, the bald guy, I forgot his, like, I can't think of his name right now. Any of these people who are just killers, and you put them in like any normal business where there's like a completely normal chance of success, they're going to succeed. They're going to crush it. They're going to absolutely crush it. Any of these entrepreneurs, you take them, they're going to do really well because of their connections, their experience, their skill sets, their mindsets, everything that they've built over the last 20, 30, 40 years. So if you can become that person, the business model, yes, it's important, but even if it doesn't work, worst case scenario, you can always switch to another one and there'll always be new opportunities because you are that person. Okay. So is your routine right now optimized to make $100 million? And the reason I'm saying 100 million, even though it's a lot, is because you want to stretch it. You want to stretch it to a little bit above what you think is even possible. So, in your heart of hearts, is your routine optimized to make $100 million? If the answer is no, then you have to, have a moment of contemplation and think, you know what? Am I really living up to my standards? Is it okay if I live life with not with a routine that's not 100% what it could be? And of course, you have other things to juggle. You have family, you have other responsibilities aside from work, but you have to be able to, to figure it out, right? Ease your routine off, because by the way, there's people that have families, there's people that have all sorts of crazy situations that they've become more successful than you, and they started off way worse than you. So, is your routine optimized to make $100 million? And if it's not, get a piece of paper and start to think, you know what, if it was optimized like these people above, like these entrepreneurs, again, look at what they do, look at how their routine runs. you know how can you make it more like that, and how can you make it like that every single day for 60 days and then 6 months? That's what our accountability service allows you to do. The first 60 days are brutal. After that, you kind of like, okay, I got this, I can do this. You're focused. Is your focus optimized to make $100 million? Like, are you on Twitter? Are you, doom scrolling too much on social media? Are you thinking about things that are just not relevant to your purpose and your mission, and it's draining your energy? Are you focusing, or are you keeping up with your favorite influencers and it's not helping your mission, your vision, and your values? Politics, another big one that takes a lot of energy from people, where they really feel high and they really feel low, and it just takes a lot of energy depending on the news cycle that day. Your habits are your habits. Those are good habits and bad habits. Of course, it's fantastic to add good habits. It's even better to remove bad ones. If you can remove the 1 to 2 bad habits, guys, almost everybody has them. Unless you're super optimized, unless you're like just an absolute killer who's worked on himself for the past 5 or 10 years, most people are going to have 1 or 2 bad habits. You want to remove all of them ideally. It might not be possible depending on what it is, obviously, but like you want to remove as many bad habits as possible. And then like if you're here, right, and the bad habits are weighing you down and the good habits are bringing you up, if you just remove the bottom, you're going to naturally rise as a result. That's just how it works. So are your habits optimized to make $100 million? Can you remove some of these bad habits that have been plaguing you for a long time? And can you add good ones? Meditation, exercise, a sauna, affirmation. I mean, there's so many things you could do. But the question is, if I had these habits, what would that look like? And you want to step into that version of yourself, and then you want to hold yourself accountable. Because in the beginning, guys, it's like driving a car. When you're driving a car, you have to think about everything, all the details. Once all these things are ingrained and you don't even have to think about them, how much better would your business be? How much better would your life be if all these habits and all these things, you just didn't even think about them, and they just happen easily, effortlessly, naturally, for 6 months, for 7? Like, what would your life look like? That's why I'm so passionate and excited about this, because your life can completely change and transform if you take it into your own hands. Sleep, diet, exercise, are they all meditation? Are they all optimized to make 100 million? If you're, by the way, this isn't This is aside from business, but like if you just mastered exercise and you became shredded and ripped and in like you had abs, you were like 11, 12% body fat, you were lean every single like year round, you were lean. I mean, that's not a business thing. This is not an exercise channel, but like how badass would that be if you could do that to yourself? Like how much more confident and how much more energy. This is about business. But if you're overweight right now or you're not at least at 13%, like minimum 13% body fat, I mean, how much energy are you leaving on the table every single day? Can you honestly say you're the Kobe of your industry? And if you're not, you have a lot of business stuff to work on, but you have a lot of personal stuff to work on as well. Because if you can become that person, everything else becomes irrelevant. So, guys, here are some actionable activities that you have to do right now. Okay, number one, unsubscribe from pointless YouTube channels. Okay, if you have YouTube channels that you watch and you consume, and they're just not helping your mission and your purpose, either number one, unsubscribe from them on the main one that you kind of go on, or maybe create a kind of like a secondary Google account, secondary channel, and then subscribe to them there, but like only open that on the weekends or only open that like after work or something like that. Like for what you can still save it, you can still watch them obviously, but maybe you do so way less frequently, and you're able to kind of clear that mental space. And on the main channel that you know consume content, you only subscribe to people that are going to accelerate your mission, vision, and life. Okay, that's super super important because you want to train on the YouTube channel you go the most on. You want to train the algorithm to actually like send you things that are helpful. So if you like this video and you give it a like, obviously it's going to send you more of these types of videos. You want to train the algorithm. But if you're always watching, you know, things that are not helping you, then you know it's going to keep kind of dragging you. You know, again, separate channel for hobbies. You want to optimize your phone for focus, guys. Delete your apps, turn off badges, turn off unessential notifications. Look at your phone right now and then tell me, is it optimized to make $100 million? Like, is your phone optimized to be the best version of you? Look at it and say, you know what? Maybe I could delete this. Maybe I can move this around. Maybe I could have a more inspiring wallpaper. Whatever it is, you know, it might be okay right now, but it could be better. You know, you want to keep, you know, there's a tendency to think, you know what, like when I do this, like, and this is one of my pitfalls, one of my big mistakes is when I started this, I thought, you know what, okay, I'm going to work really hard. That means I'm not going to have any friends. I'm not going to talk to anyone. I'm not going to have any free time. I'm going to wake up, work, go to sleep, and do that for the next 5 years. Like if you look at some people, that's kind of what they advise. You don't want to do that, guys. I mean, I don't know about you, but that doesn't sound very passionate, very inspiring. And it doesn't sound like it's going to give you a ton of energy. You want to keep your hobbies and your passions outside of work. If you like tennis, you want to keep doing that, you know, but you want to schedule them in or use them in a smart way to recover from deep work sessions or periods. So like when you get like 2 weeks of solid, like really good grinding work done, take a weekend and go fishing, you know, or take a weekend and go hiking. Take 2 to 3 days, on a weekend when you work 2 weeks straight and you did really really well. So you want to still keep the passion, still keep the hobbies, but use them as a reward and use them as a way of recovering. If you really like playing sports, or you really like doing this, don't just get rid of it, you know, but schedule it in as a reward for doing things. Maybe you like video games. Maybe that's your thing, and you like playing video games on a Sunday. You know, after you had a really good week and you only played on a Sunday. Of course, it takes massive discipline. What Becker used to do is he used to like he would buy the console, like buy the Xbox or whatever it is. I don't play video games, and then he would smash it, like literally like throw it away afterwards. That way he wouldn't keep playing it. He wouldn't get addicted to playing it. So, guys, here is your checklist for today. Your routine, is it optimized to make $100 million? Pause the video and figure out what you would need to do to optimize your routine and make $100 million. Pause the video. Don't be that guy who just watches and doesn't do anything. When you finish it, come back and we'll continue. Have you performed this routine, you know, for 90 days straight? And if you haven't, how can you perform that routine for 90 days straight? Do you need an accountability coach? Do you need to put it on your wall? Do you need to talk to your employees? Do you need to talk to a friend to make sure you perform like that for 90 days straight? Are you looking at your vision, mission every single morning in the mirror? Do you have your goals? Like, are you taking 15 or 20 minutes every single day to visualize your success, visualize the person you're becoming? That's why we give out in our other videos the daily doc I'll put it in the link below so you can fill it out with your vision, your goals, your standards. Super, super important. Your focus, is it optimized? Like right now, before you end the video, like what do you need to cut off? Think about your schedule. Think about your Google Calendar or your Outlook calendar, whatever you use, or your Notion calendar. What can you optimize better? Like what hobbies can you move to the weekend? What hobbies can you move to, after that 2 week period that you do? Maybe once a month you schedule something in. Guys, that's a great habit, just scheduling things in. Like if you want to go on something fun, something exciting, maybe a social event with your friends, instead of never speaking to them again and only hanging around like millionaires, which is just not realistic, schedule something in at the end of the month or at the beginning of the month or in the middle of the month, once a month. It's going to depend on every single person. Again, your habits. What habits do you want to remove? Do it after this video. Write it down. Again, write 2 to 3 things, not 10 things, just 2 to 3 things that you want to improve. Identify the things that need immediate attention, the things that you're screwing up the worst. So instead of, again, if you're having trouble with this, instead of thinking, man, how do I make my routine better? Think to yourself, you know what? What's making my routine like suck right now? Like what's really dragging down my performance right now? And then start from there. So by using Charlie Munger's inversion, you're able to say, you know what? Instead of saying what's making my sleep, what can I do to make my sleep better? You think, what's making my sleep terrible? Well, it's probably that you're drinking too much caffeine, or it's probably you're eating right before bed, or you're too stressed before bed, you're not calm, right? What's making my productivity not as capable as it could be? What's dragging down my productivity? What's dragging down my energy? Is it because I don't get as much exercise as I should? What's dragging down my productivity? Is it a family situation? I need to kind of figure some things out family wise. If you invert it and use inversion, it might be better to create this. Guys, if you do this, again, this is not something that you can just do in one YouTube video. This is something where you have to take one little thing, optimize, come back, take one little thing, optimize, talk to your coach about it, get a coach about it. Once you can get a coach. Once you do all these things and it becomes your way of life, that's how you go from average person to becoming, again, having a perfect diet. How many people do you know that have a perfect diet? Like that aren't like Brian Johnson or like elite entrepreneurs? Almost nobody. Once you can do all of that, you're going to be the Kobe of your industry. And you're going to be just on this whole different level. This is going to take, it depends on where you're starting from. But if you're like at an average level, guys, this is going to take months. The goal should be to become limitless, to become that person who can achieve anything. If you become this person, the rest will follow. If you need help with any of this, setting any of this up, having someone check in on you every single day to make sure you're operating at 98, 99% of your full potential, there will be a link below for a free trial for accountability service. But guys, if you need to become an 8-figure, 9-figure operator internally before it can ever become something externally. Okay, this is super. This is going to take months, dedication, sweat. It's not going to be easy, but if you can get through it and everything is fully optimized, you're going to be an absolute beast. So I'll leave you guys with this. Watch the video again if you need to. Leave me a comment below if you found this helpful, and I'll talk to you guys very soon.